It is the Daily Donno with me. I'm Alex Donno here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We are coming to you live like we do now each and every weekday, talking local sports, talking national sports, talking about whatever goddamn nonsense I have going on in my life. I'm so happy to have everyone on board, including we got our guy Manny Chang back in studio doing his thing. We got Sean Stanley. And by the way, Donno Daily is served by the great folks at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. The seafood is so fresh. I love their sushi. Their buffalo shrimp is the best appetizer on planet Earth. I know that. I've tried every single appetizer on planet Earth. It doesn't get better than the buffalo shrimp at the Quarterdeck. The cocktails will cure your ails. Visit them online to find the location nearest to you at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. You can also peep their menu at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. And by the way, the Quarterdeck offers every UFC pay-per-view fight with zero cover charge. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. Good afternoon to everyone tuned in, whether you're watching us live on YouTube, watching us back on the replay, or if you are listening to us on the podcast channel. How are you? We got our man, Sean Stanley, with us, the guy with the underscore at his Twitter handle. Sean, how are you, sir?
I am doing good. It's another day I get to spend with you.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to get into maybe some Miami Heat stuff today, but obviously not getting into the NBA draft was a little bit less exciting than I had hoped for or expected. I do see that they're signing basically every undrafted free agent. I think they've given a 2-year deal to Sean Stanley. They've given a 10-day contract to Manny Chang. But what I wanted to open up the show with is because if you read the beat writers on Twitter, right? If you follow some of these onlookers at training camp, you get very little positivity on Tua Tagovailoa. Have you noticed that? That if Tua throws interceptions in practice, which he threw none of yesterday, by the way, Wednesday he did throw some INTs. When he throws interceptions in practice, the beat writers are very quick to tell you about it. When Tua throws touchdowns, it's like, well, you know what? He threw a touchdown, but wasn't perfect. It was a little bit underthrown. I didn't have the right velocity behind it. Things were very quiet yesterday, as our pal Juan Cardona here from the 5 Reasons Sports Network pointed out on his Twitter handle, and I am right there in lockstep with Juan. My day 2 observations, he said, should be out later tonight. They did come out, by the way, spoiler alert, last night, so check those out at 5reasonsports.com. But he writes, no one, not a single soul, can paint the picture of Tua missing the offseason's shiny new toy in Will Fuller, plus his top 2 guys from last year in Devontae Parker and Preston Williams, and still having a great day. Tua 8, he writes, with Gaskin, Gesicki, Albert, and Ahmed. And yeah, by all accounts, Tua Tagovailoa yesterday, and this is not hyperbole to say this, and Alfredo Arteaga from the 5 Reasons Sports Network did write this in his post-practice column yesterday. Tua Tagovailoa in Thursday's practice had arguably his best training camp session in 2 years as a Miami Dolphin. Better than opening day on Wednesday, better than any training camp practice he had a year ago, which really isn't saying a whole lot because Tua, of course, was not 100% healthy in training camp last year. But why is it that the people who cover the team are so quick to point out all the issues and all the negatives, but when Tua actually goes out there and has a really good day, it doesn't matter to them, okay? He throws another 65-yard bomb in practice to Albert Wilson. You know, and as a side note, I'm really happy that Wilson is catching bombs every single day now in practice, because this is a guy that I will admit, I had written off Albert Wilson as someone very likely to get cut. I mean, the Dolphins, we know, have a ton of wide receivers. There's a lot of depth at that position. Wilson was a guy who opted out last year. And whether it's fair or unfair, I think opt-outs from last year around the league will be held against some players, whether we think that's the right thing to do or not, right? And Wilson does have an injury history even prior to opting out last year. So I thought that Albert Wilson would be one of the first guys to be on the chopping block. But dudes, you keep putting up practices and building chemistry with Tua the way Albert Wilson is doing, he might just play himself into an inexpendable spot on this roster. And that only gives you more speed. I mean, you already have the blazing breakneck speed of Jalen Waddle, whose speed just looks different, okay? You already have tremendous speed from one of those new toys that Juan Cardona talked about in Will Fuller, and Albert Wilson is one of the fastest men on the planet as well. And then you have to wonder, does Jakeem Grant make the team or not? I don't really care one way or the other, but if he does, he's got speed, although I want to see that speed utilized more on special teams because I trust this guy as a return man a lot more than I trust him as a wide receiver. But the fact that Tua is now going out there in training camp practices and finding a way to build chemistry with some of the lesser suspects, not his top weapons, I think is a really good sign. You're already seeing the differences in Tungo Vailoa physically. He looks much bigger and stronger than he did a year ago. You're seeing signs and hearing signs of him making the adjustments he needs mentally to become more of a leader. And a lot of that comes, Sean, with understanding the playbook better. Because if he had that self-admitted lack of understanding of the playbook a year ago, it's really hard to lead when you don't understand the offense you're running. So if he understands that now better, and he's got co-offensive coordinators who I think are really sensitive to tailoring the offense to his needs, I try not to get too high and too low on anything that happens in training camp, but still, I am very encouraged by what Tua Tagovailoa is doing this week.
Yeah, but I think the big thing is that they're tailoring the offense to Tua now instead of Tua having to tailor to whatever offense they want to run. Again, you're bringing in all the weapons. You're kind of tailoring this offense around Tua. It's not the old school mentality of I'm the offensive coordinator. My quarterback needs to tailor his skills to my offense. Now they are actually tailoring this around Tua, and I think you're going to start seeing, and we're seeing bits and pieces. And again, I get it. It's training camp. It's mini camp. It's got to happen during the season, but it's got to be good to see the growth that you see from Tua, taking personal accountability of his what happened last year and building on that and coming back this year and coming out of the gates pretty strong.
No interceptions yesterday from Tua in practice. I will take it. A 0 interception day, 3 touchdowns, one of those being another 60-plus yard bomb to Albert Wilson. Another offensive player who's having a great camp so far is Mike Gesicki. After the Dolphins drafted Hunter Long, I'm sure Gesicki feels a little chip on the shoulder to go out there and prove, hey, I'm an elite tight end. So I'm sure that's motivating for Mike Gesicki. Jalen Phillips, who's been working at linebacker, the rookie, I think he's going to end up being defensive rookie of the year. Like, I am absolutely bullish on Jalen Phillips. The only reasonable reservation I think anybody had about that guy coming out of the University of Miami was, is he going to be able to stay healthy? Because he had the injury issues, the concussion issues when he was at UCLA before he transferred to the U. Yeah. And some of that was bad luck, bro, because when you're a defensive end collecting concussions, and one of those was like a moped accident. Like, when you're a defensive end collecting concussions, that's not really common for that position. So I thought some of that was a little bit fluky for Jalen Phillips, but I am all in on the guy. I know that some people tried to manufacture some character concerns for him. Well, why did he quit on UCLA and transfer to Miami? Like, guys, the breaking news, you're going to see players now. We've been seeing this for a number of years with the transfer portal. Guys in college are just going to be picking and choosing, switching universities wherever they think they can get the most exposure, most playing time. Now it's going to be whoever can get them the most money for their name, image, and likeness. Like, you can't hold it against players, at least not anymore, for jumping around schools often, because it's becoming, Sean, a lot more common. Like, 15, 20 years ago, if a player transfers multiple times, you're like, well, what's wrong with him? Like, you don't really feel that way anymore about these players.
No, I think you're almost wondering if somebody stays with the school. That now is the issue. It's like, wait, why did he stay? Why didn't he try to go to any other school? What is wrong with this guy? He stayed 4 years at the same school. That's almost the mentality of what it is now.
We're going to have a couple of really good conversations on the show today at about 12:15. So in 5 minutes, we're going to talk with sports attorney Alan Fertel. I've got so many things to ask this man, from the legal issues that are inevitable with the SEC trying to bring in every program that matters, right? I mean, we've known for a couple of weeks that the SEC are, going after Oklahoma and Texas, and that's going to happen, okay, which would get their league to 16 teams. We're also now hearing about the SEC having mutual interest with schools like Clemson and Florida State from the ACC, Ohio State and Michigan from the Big Ten. And my concern here is, And we're going to get into the University of Miami angle on this because unfortunately, I don't see anything linking Miami to the SEC right now. I'm going to get FOMO'd so bad here if we see Florida State, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, and Oklahoma joining the SEC. That's going to not only become a super conference, it's literally going to become the only conference that matters. When you talk about exposure, when you talk about television money, a 20-team super SEC is going to be the only conference anyone cares about, and the rest of them will just be fighting for scraps.
But here's my question, Donno. Okay, so what are they doing? They're taking a good school, Oklahoma, and then Texas, which is a name school. Don't get me by name, but their play lately hasn't been that good.
Lots of money coming from Texas.
We're taking your top team in Clemson from the ACC, and then let's go down to the Dweller and let's grab FSU. Then it's, hey, we'll take Ohio State, the top, and then we'll go down and we'll grab Michigan. It's almost like, look, we'll take two, one good, one bad, and that's where the Seminoles fall.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, like if you're judging by recent form, obviously Florida State has been bad now for a number of years. Michigan has been really bad now for a number of years. Texas has been embarrassing for a number of years. But those schools still have gigantic alumni bases, huge programs, a lot of money, a lot of fans, and a lot of exposure. And I start to feel left out as a University of Miami backer and alumnus when I don't see Miami getting linked to any of this. And I'm getting in arguments last night on social media with Miami fans because a lot of Miami fans will say, Donno, why would you want any part of a super conference? Because if Miami were to go to the SEC with the lack of money that Miami spends and the facilities compared to these mega schools, we're going to end up being just like Vanderbilt or Kentucky football, or God forbid, the Tennessee Volunteers, who have been, their program's been in the gutter lately. Why would you want Miami to be a part of that? Because people have these fond memories of when Miami was the big fish in the small pond, when we were winning the Big East every year and winning national titles as a member of the Big East. I don't look at the math the same way, guys. It's changed so much, the college football landscape. Because, yeah, you were a big fish in a small pond of the Big East for a number of years, but you didn't have any true mega conference sucking away all the other resources at that time. I mean, the SEC was fine back then, but they weren't a mega conference. The Big 10, the Big 12, the Pac-10, it was called at that time. Like, none of these were mega conferences at that point. So Miami could be, I mean, earlier in their history, Miami was an independent and did very well for themselves. Then as a member of the Big East, which had, mostly crappy teams, Miami did pretty well for themselves. But I don't think the same rules will apply if Miami is a member of a severely weakened, irrelevant ACC, and a 20-team super SEC is the only conference that anyone cares about. So here are your two alternatives. You can go to the SEC and be forced to spend more money on coaches and resources in order to survive, or you can just be a bigger fish in a tiny ACC pond. Now, this would be assuming Florida State and Clemson have left the ACC. That's the hypothetical. I don't know if that's really going to happen or not, but if Miami are one of the teams left behind after Clemson and Florida State go over to a mega SEC, I think being the bigger fish in that tiny pond is a worse scenario for Miami than going to be part of the mega conference where you get to share in so much extra television revenue. You get to have the best national TV slots and go up against the best teams time and time and time again. And you know what? If you're in a mega 20-team SEC with all those great teams, it doesn't really matter if you lose 4 or 5 games per season, right? I mean, hell, I'd rather lose 4 or 5 games to those teams than I would to the Dukes and the North Carolinas of the world. Oh, man. So much going on today. All right. We're going to bring in our first guest of the day, and we can get into some of these issues and other legal issues. It's always nice because I sometimes play a lawyer on YouTube and on the radio, but to have the actual authority is great. We are joined now by Alan Fertel of Weiss, Sirota, Helfman, Cole, and Bierman Law Firm, which is based here in Miami. Alan, I've spoken to you before on the phone. First time we get this this virtual face-to-face. How are you, sir?
All right. Alex, thank you so much for having me. I want to Mazel Tov. I want to wish you congratulations on your podcast. It's just a pleasure to be with you. Let's talk some sports.
Thank you so much. Now, Alan, I would imagine that if the SEC is able to pull off what they're trying to do, and it seems really likely at this point that Oklahoma and Texas are on their way, if they're also able to entice programs like Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, and Clemson, how ugly are these legal battles going to be, in your opinion? And will the SEC ultimately prevail, or are some of these conferences, just to avoid annihilation, going to fight this tooth and nail?
Well, you know that there's going to be litigation. I mean, I always talk to you about this. It's a lawyer's joint. You've got broadcast rights for the next 2 years that are in limbo. You know that the SEC is the $9 billion gorilla in the room right now. They are the super conference. It's amazing that in the United States we love this, size is great and big is better. But when the super clubs tried to do this in Europe or in soccer, all you got was incredible, destructive riots and feedback and negative feedback and disgust. Everyone's money hungry and power rich, and here it's just great. So we live in a different society here, and it's going to be litigation, Alex. It's just going to be, it's going to be rich people and rich conferences and rich universities trying to get richer, and then you've got presidents already going on Twitter and going against presidents from other universities. I mean, it's getting bad. They're starting to throw things at each other. I'm talking about, of course, verbally right now. I don't see any shoes being thrown at the present time, but this is a matter over serious dollars. And as you know, people get crazy over non-serious dollars. So can you imagine what the outcome is going to be here? Numbers don't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a Big 12, Big 99. It doesn't matter if it's Southeast Conference or Southwest Conference. All that is thrown out. It should be Conference A, Conference B, Conference C, and Conference D, and you get your best teams and you put them in a 12-team playoff. And like you said, if you have 4 or 5 losses, it's not going to be too bad to the average fan. But the boosters that are paying a lot of money don't dig 5 losses, regardless if they're 5 losses are, 5, top 10 teams. It's losses, and you got coaches that are worried about losses, but you got the boosters, you got the university. This is about money, Alex. To play.
Now, do you think in the case of my beloved University of Miami, if they were to have down the road the opportunity to join a super conference versus, stand pat in the ACC and be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, what do you think is better? Because I think the super conference is better overall, but a lot of people disagree with me on that.
Well, I actually heard what you were talking about before you invited me on, so I know what your position is. I'm a Cane as well. I've been very different over the years that the Canes have never won a conference championship in their supposedly move up to a better conference from the Big East. I don't know what the does. The is such an interesting, especially football program. Because as you and I know, I mean, look, I came here to law school in 81. I was in the Orange Bowl, knocked down the ball in 82 on New Year's Eve, on New Year's Day, actually, I think it was. It's been an incredible ride, and then it just hit the skid. So really, no one knows what's coming out of there. You got King coming in, and we thought that was going to make a significant difference. It did a little. You got him coming back. Hopefully that makes a big difference. It will a little. But in Miami, better small fish. They've had problems with both fishes lately. So I'm not sold what they're on what's going to become of the ACC. I'm not sold what's going to become of college football. I just don't know. Texas and OU, I just saw on the screen, they just accepted the invitation. So you know what's going on there. The next thing is there's going to be lawyers for all of the conferences that are feeling very, jolted and jilted. And they don't put paint on somebody's wall now. What they do is they sue. So there's going to be some serious letters going on, and nice letters, and get your carrier on notice letters. I don't know what the UM's going to do, Al. I just want them to win. I want them to win football institution. The greatest time of my life was at Orange Bowl at 56 games. I think it was 56 game streak. It was just wonderful when you put your feet down and had those metal bleachers, and you made noise, and you were real close, and people were scared to come in the Orange Bowl.
Hey, Alan, do me a favor. I'm hearing a little digital interference. Could you do me a favor and log out and re-log back in? Because I think that might help the service a little bit. Yeah, we'll reconnect with Alan in a moment because it was breaking up, and I want to make sure we get the full extent of what he's saying. And if the ACC were to lose Florida State and Clemson to the SEC, you have to go out and get Notre Dame, right? Like, you have to try and entice Notre Dame to become an actual member of the conference, assuming the SEC doesn't go out and grab the Fighting Irish as well. But I think Notre Dame, not that contracts necessarily mean anything anymore in this landscape, because these legal fights are going to be happening. But I think Notre Dame, if they're going to join a conference, would be legally obligated to join the ACC. So the ACC would have to recruit them really, really hard if they lose out on Florida State and Clemson to go to the SEC. So, man, I think that this is fascinating. Notre
Dame want to go to ACC, though, Alex, when you look at what they got going on?
Yeah, and the Sooners, by the way, have accepted the SEC bid. The thing is, wouldn't, like, Notre Dame, would they feel more pressure? I think they would, to join a conference if there's even more of a premium on mega conference football, right? Because, like, Notre Dame has done really well for decades as an independent. They've got that TV deal with NBC. That's why in football they haven't actually joined a conference the way they have in other sports, because they're a member of the ACC in everything else but football. All right, let's bring back in Alan K. Fertel, attorney at law, joins us here. Alan, how you doing, sir? I think the connection looks a little bit better. How are you?
I hope it's better. I'm not very good at the IT stuff. I usually have some guys helping me out. I'm 62 tomorrow. So, I apologize if there were technical difficulties.
No worries. Something else I wanted to ask you is, now you represent Olympic swimmer Caleb Dressel, who's out there kicking ass. He's collecting gold medals. I love him. Now, you represent him exclusively on all of his endorsements. When the Olympics got postponed last year, because these are happening a summer later than planned, did those endorsement deals stay locked in, or did you have to go through and renegotiate those?
Well, both, actually. So the way it worked was, the first deal that we had in place was a Speedo deal. And that deal was a 2 Olympic deal. So while that had to be tweaked a little bit, it was still going to be a 2-cycle deal anyway. But any other deal, Coca-Cola, Toyota, Hershey's, Comcast, Grubhub, probably missing 1 or 2, but No, which is a clothing brand, all had to be extended because they were all going to terminate in November or December after the Olympics were supposed to occur last summer. So there's some big topic in the right now. An event occurs that is not a reasonably foreseeable event that destroys the integrity of the contract. So here we have a pandemic. While there was force majeure clauses in many of the contracts, some didn't have them, but never had an Olympics been first continued, postponed, and then canceled. So we're very lucky that the Olympics were not canceled. But it caused the business people and all of the sponsors and me, our business people on behalf of Caleb, work together, be greedy, just to so that all of the things that we look for so hard can come to fruition. I mean, parts of these deals are based upon bonuses, and gold medals and silver medals and bronze medals and multiple medals and Olympic records and world records and American records. And those triggers for bonuses can only be accomplished if the meet takes place. So we were all crossing our fingers that this would happen. Caleb's parents were very upset that they wouldn't have the opportunity to actually go to the Olympics and be with him in Japan. You've seen his lawyer is really upset that he can't be in Japan either. I was supposed to be there last year, and this year it wasn't even a thought process because of everything that's going on. But, you know, it's everybody has to work together, and this was a real eye-opener.
Hey, I'm sorry, Alan. I got to let you run. The interference is getting bad again. We'll try and reconnect.
All we wanted to do for our sponsor was to give them value.
We'll try and reconnect with Alan another time. It's just that was a little bit brutal there, the reception. But, man, his insight is great. We'll get a better connection with him next time, my friends. Another thing I want to get into, and huge thanks to Alan Fertel. Sorry about the technical issues that we had. In about 8 minutes, we're going to get our best bets for the weekend with Lee Sterling from ParamountSports.com. He's going to let us know what to look for this coming weekend, maybe some Major League Baseball action, some Olympics. I hope he's got some good props for us. So we're going to get our bets for the weekend from Lee Sterling. Seismic move in the National Basketball Association last night. The Los Angeles Lakers reaching a deal to acquire Russell Westbrook. The human triple-double machine has averaged a triple-double 4 times in his career, still in his prime, by the way, at 33 years old. The Lakers agreed to a deal with the Washington Wizards to acquire Russell Westbrook in exchange for Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and the number 22 pick in last night's NBA draft. That report was from Adrian Wojnarowski. So, look at that. Oh, look at the Photoshop. You've already got there. And, yeah, LeBron put that out on his Instagram. You've got Russ with LeBron and AD. LeBron already had them over to his crib, to talk about bringing a championship back to Los Angeles. I got to tell you guys, we just saw actual alpha male Giannis Antetokounmpo, who stayed in a small, tiny market that hadn't won anything in a half a century, just hoist an NBA title when I didn't think he could do it. Like, I did not think when Giannis decided to take the Supermax to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks, I said it on every platform and I screened it from every mountaintop. I thought he was making a mistake if he wanted to win. I thought he was strictly making a decision, Giannis, based on comfort, quality of life, whatever gratitude he felt to the Bucks organization and the people of Milwaukee. Like, I thought he was making a selfless decision to stay there and not a decision based on winning championships. So from that aspect, I thought Antetokounmpo was making a mistake, I should say. It only took the guy one season to win a title and prove me wrong. And now LeBron James, after just failing with the Los Angeles Lakers, after being exposed as a bubble fraud, he came to realize, you know what? Playing here with Anthony Davis, AD, this isn't quite enough for me. We got to go out and get Russell Westbrook. Now, this obviously makes the Lakers bench less deep, but you're bringing in a guy, and Sean, here's what I fear is going to end up happening. Russell Westbrook is going to be the ultimate trooper here because that's the guy who's really going to be counted on to grind during the regular season and collect those triple doubles and make sure the Lakers aren't the 8 seed or a play-in team, while LeBron and AD, they get to take their usual maintenance breaks during the season. So Russell Westbrook is going to help that team fight for better seeding in the regular season.
This whole thing is just, to me, it's just these super teams. You've watched what happened, as you just talked about, with Giannis over in Milwaukee. they went out, they got what, Holiday and Middleton, right? They brought them in. They didn't go out and have to go get Russell Westbrook and create this, this huge, I mean, they got great players, don't get me wrong, but you have Russell Westbrook, as you say, which is probably their soldier through the regular season, like you're saying, because LeBron's going to miss his 20 to 25 games. AD can't stay healthy. Something, when you get foot injuries and you're that big, that's probably going to be a recurring injury, especially when you're playing basketball.
Yeah, you remember Yao Ming?
Yeah. Again, you start adding all this up, but when you look at what Westbrook, can he be a player that can work in that system with LeBron? I don't know. I look at LeBron and I say, okay, he had some issues with Kyrie. He had issues with certain players. He didn't really have an issue with Bosh and Wade because they both took the step down. They let LeBron be that leader. Is Russell Westbrook the type of player that's going to be able to come onto the Lakers and be like, no problem, LeBron. I understand. This is your team. Maybe he's gotten to that mark now because of how he's gone his fall kind of from the NBA as far as being where he was at OKC and then with Houston and everything else. But I don't see him taking that much of a back seat for here. I see this being more of a battle of egos almost and it might work out better because it'll be one-upmanship. Yeah. Hey, this is what I did this game. Oh, well, let me do this game. And you're going to see them almost ego trip each other every game. I can see that happening for the Lakers.
This is rare. You might want to mark this down for the history books, but I'm actually going to give LeBron James a compliment. I think that in most cases, great players, and Russell Westbrook is a great player, future Hall of Famer, great players tend to be more willing to defer to that guy than anyone else, right? Like I think if a player teams up with, someone like a KD or like an Anthony Davis without LeBron, they may be less willing to say, you know what, I will defer to him. I will play the way that LeBron James wants me to play. I don't mind being the second option some nights, maybe the number one option when LeBron's taking his little maintenance vacations or he's filming really bad Space Jam sequels. And God, that movie was so awful. That was an hour and a half of my life I will never get back. My son, by the way, after watching that movie, my 3-year-old, he is now the biggest Michael Jordan fan on the planet because I showed my son the original Space Jam, which he agreed with me is a timeless classic. I showed my son the updated Space Jam sequel with LeBron James. My kid is now Team Petty. My son, who was not even alive when LeBron James disrespected Pat Riley in the summer of 2014, he was not even a twinkle in my eye at that point, the kid who was born in 2018. He is now Team Petty because Space Jam 2 was so bad. But back to complimenting LeBron James, I think to me, LeBron has proven so much in this league, has so much respect from other players. I think pretty much everyone but Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie Irving didn't give an F about LeBron. Like Kyrie didn't even he didn't respect LeBron until years later after he got out of Cleveland. Then he started to respect LeBron. But I think even Russell Westbrook would fall in line and kick his ego aside because LeBron James, to me, he is a different kind of aura. He's proven it time and time again for so long. I think if there's one guy that players are willing to take that back seat to, it's LeBron James. I would include Russell Westbrook in that. Obviously, things ended up working out great with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh because the first year, Sean, you remember the first year of the big three, it was actually more on LeBron because Wade, I don't think would have minded year one letting LeBron be the guy, but LeBron was too passive because LBJ thought, you know what, I'm like the guest here. Right, that D Wade has already won a championship here. He's already been Finals MVP, and it's really his team. And then after that first championship loss, that Finals loss to Dallas, they were together on vacation. And Wade told him, I think it was in the Bahamas. Wade told him, LeBron, you take the keys, man. This is your team. You're the number one guy. I'm the number two, and the rest was history. They won the next two titles, and it's one of the happiest times of my life, the Big Three era. So hopefully Russ can figure that out.
Well, I'm glad you're so complimentary of LeBron because I'm not going to be. I think this is tampering. You invite somebody to your house. You invite somebody to your house that's not on your team, and this has been set up from the beginning. Talk to Russ, talk to AD, and now look at this. All of a sudden, Russell Westbrook is on his way to LA for, who was it? Montrezl Harris. What else? Who else was in this package deal?
Like 100 guys. Hold on. I got the whole list in front of me. It was
out the bench. Everybody that was against him.
Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, KCP, and the number 22 pick last night.
There you go. Everybody against LeBron out. Bring Russ and the tampering in. That's all we did here. That's all we did. Congratulations, LeBron. I hope you make it out of the first round next year.
Tampering in the NBA has been happening since the time of Moses. Like tampering and the NBA go together. Like Moses and the Red Sea. It's been around since time immemorial. All right, we go out to the guest line. Joseph Rodriguez says, Donno, I'm definitely not a fan of the new Space Jam. It was so bad. It's like, are they even trying? Didn't China ban the movie? And LeBron loves China. So, like, did China ban the movie because they just didn't like it? It should have been banned in the United States, if we're being honest. All right, let's bring in our very good pal. He is a professional sports handicapper. Oh, he's even got the backdrop. How good is that? ParamountSports.com is his website. He's going to help us get some winners this weekend. Lee Sterling is with us. Lee, you look fantastic. You always have the face for TV, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. Could always be a little better. Could be a lot worse. First, I want to comment, about the Simone Biles thing. My daughter actually did competitive cheerleading. Cheerleaded for a team down here called Top Gun. Actually won a world championship with them, and she went through that. And I mean, it was a couple weeks, both in high school when she was cheering for Top Gun and also for the University of Miami. So it's a real thing. It's not like something you can snap out of in a second. So I felt for her, and it's not something you can all of a sudden work out magically with a couple of workouts. You try to tumble when it's like that. I mean, you can break your neck. So I feel it was the right thing to do. Some people will criticize it, but it opened up the door for another girl and another great story to win a gold medal. So sometimes one door closes, another opens up. So like to look at the positive side of things. And I think there's a positive way to view it. And it's a real thing, and it can happen.
It's crazy to me how many 40-year-old dudes are criticizing the mental health of a 24-year-old, young woman who's accomplished more in her life than most of us will ever accomplish. And like, they think they know, the best mental health of all. You just have to power through it. Like,
right.
Dude, it's like, listen, I've had good and bad days and good and bad periods in mental health. Like it's not always difficult just to do common everyday things, and I'm not famous, and I don't have the pressure of a nation on my shoulders. I don't think any nation would want to put that kind of pressure on me. So I cannot even imagine what it's like to walk a day in the shoes of Simone Biles, or even, a lot of people I know no two issues are the same, but a lot of people also point to the Naomi Osaka thing from a few weeks back. Right. I have no clue what it's like to walk in any of their shoes. I find it crazy, Lee, how many people, and it's usually 40, 50-year-old dudes, right, are so quick to criticize the mental health of these young women who are representing their countries. And God, I don't even want to, as far as the criticism is concerned, I don't mind talking about the stories, but as far as criticism is concerned, who am I to even touch that?
It's just something that happens, and you can't just go out there and power through it. I've seen my daughter go in the backyard, and I used to have a trampoline and try to work it out there. It's just something that it just doesn't come back, with the snap of the fingers. And even if you're at that level. So I don't think it was the pressure. I just think it was something that happens. They call it the twisties. I think my daughter had another name for it, but felt for her. But I think she took the positive attitude. She could have been a sourpuss about it and not want to give interviews, not want to talk to people. She met it, head first, and she was out there rooting for her teammates. And I think that's great.
That's wonderful. Hey, before we get into some of your preferred picks for this weekend, well, first I have to confess how badly I've needed you this week, Lee, because I was desperately going through some odds yesterday, and I have never watched a second of the Belgian women's Olympic basketball team, nor have I ever watched a second of the Puerto Rican Olympic women's basketball team. But when I saw Puerto Rico getting 29.5 points, I thought, God, I don't care how good Belgium is. This is an opportunity. Well, they ended up losing the game by like 35 points. So I am down and out. They did not cover that spread. So I need Lee Sterling.
You were desperate. So You bet on things that I would never even consider betting on. I talk to some people who are in the know, yeah, but I haven't made one Olympic bet. I don't plan on it unless
Really?
up. I'm actually going to Vegas tomorrow morning, so I'll be there for a couple days. So I will be there for UFC fight night. This could be one of the worst fight nights, and I don't know what it is. Coming off the last Saturday night's card, I ended up going 2-5, and I had 3 decisions. 2 that I know I should have won. You know, they have
Miranda Maverick.
Yeah, 20 outside observers who score the fight. They just got to do something. We went back. I think there was an article about the 10 worst decisions since the UFC came back, and I had 8 of those 10 go against me. I mean, so I'm fairly up now since they came back in May. You switch those around, or even 5 or 6 of them, I'm sitting pretty. But that's not the case. And then on top of those 8, I see the article last week. I end up with a Maverick one with, I think Miranda Maverick. I think that all 20 outside observers viewed she had won the fight. I don't think there was any question. Then there was another fight where the judge, the referee almost stopped the fight at the end of the first round. That was my big.
Yeah, the Kyler Phillips fight.
So I thought he won, if not 2 rounds, he definitely won the first round. It was a 10-8 round, and 18 of the 20 outside observers scored it that way. And then on top of that, there was another fight that, and I think one had it. I think one had it for Phillips, one had it for his opponent, and then 18 scored it as a draw because they had given Phillips that first round 10-8. And then there's another fight that I think 16 of the 20 scored it my fighter's way. So very, very frustrated. Let's first talk about a couple quick baseball games tonight. So we have the trade deadline, usually a tough time to handicap games, but I found I'm going to go against the Pirates. So they traded their best player, Frazier, a couple days ago. Since they traded him, they're 0-3, and they've been outscored 28-3 in 3 games. Their pitcher, Will Crowe, is 0-4 with almost a 6 ERA. I think Philadelphia, I'm going to leave their bullpen out of it. I'm just going Philadelphia Phillies first 5 money line. I think that's a nice play, minus 125. And then a team I've been backing since 2-3 weeks before the All-Star break, the Detroit Tigers. I have a second half bet on them. I think they only need to win, go 31-41. Playing great baseball right now. They're hitting. They're going up against Matt Harvey, who has a 6.65 ERA.
Jeez, yeah.
I think that Detroit's just rolling right now, hitting the baseball, and I don't think the odds makers have still caught up to it. So I'll take Detroit here. I got a minus 140 to minus 145. I think those are 2 real strong plays.
Anything you like at the UFC fight night this weekend?
So a couple. I like Uriah Hall, probably my smallest wager, plus anywhere from 165 to 180. I think Strickland's great, and I think he's improved a lot, but he just likes to come at you and punch and kick. And I think if Uriah Hall is smart, he tries a different game plan. And I think he's talented enough maybe to pull it off. So I just think Strickland's a little overvalued here. And I think you got to take Hall here with a nice take back. And then another fight looking at, I think Ryan Benoit against Zaruka Adeshev. I think that that Benoit here has fought, even though I think he's 10-7, Adeshev is 3-3. Just fought much better fighters. He fought Brandon Moreno back in 2016 to a split decision loss. Better fighters. Adeshev, I think all he can do is really punch. I think that Benoit can take him to the ground, and if he does, has a better ground game, better submission game here. Minus 130, 135, even 140, I think might be the right side. And you want to put maybe a fighter in a parlay. Look at Rafa Garcia. These are 2 bad fighters. These guys are not good. This is the worst card of the year.
It's terrible. Lee, the Bellator card the same night, I think, is way better.
Right. Well, I'll be betting on both.
Me too.
A parlay, one side might be Rafa Garcia. Chris Grutzenmacher is awful. I mean, this guy just is not much. I mean, Garcia does swing, a wild swinger. He swings not many straight punches, and he comes at you. But I think he has a better takedown game, better submission game. Grutzemacher is, I think, like 30, 36, something like that. He's a never was guy that I think Garcia will take care of. So tough card. I'll probably only put out 3 or 4 selections for my clients. And sometimes you just got to back off and just go with your best selections instead of putting out a big card.
I love it. ParamountSports.com is his website. Lee, a couple of things I want your take on before we let you run. You're a University of Miami guy like myself. We see what looks like is happening now in college football. This has maybe been the craziest offseason ever. I mean, from name, image, and likeness now to all this conference realignment stuff. Like, the SEC is trying to put every other member of the Power Five out of business, essentially. Like, they're trying to cherry pick, and this is going to happen, Oklahoma and Texas from the Big 12. So the Big 12 is basically finished. I see reports that they're trying to get Ohio State and Michigan from the Big 10, and that they might be trying to get Clemson and Florida State from the ACC. We're both University of Miami alums, and I've been arguing with people, Lee, on, if the opportunity were to come up, and maybe it won't, because I don't see Miami linked in any of these conversations, but if Miami had the chance to join a mega SEC, a lot of people will say, well, Donno, already Miami's behind in facilities and they don't spend big money on coaches. We would just go over there and become Kentucky football. But Lee, the alternative is, to me, if Miami were to stay put and be in an irrelevant conference, I don't necessarily think that's better for the long term. I'd rather be part of the mega conference with the extra television revenue and all the extra hype and better TV deals. What do you think would be the better alternative for the Canes?
I think there's no question you want to be involved with the SEC. I said it years ago that the conference that Miami should have joined. And I think, if memory serves me correct, they were talking to Miami and Florida State. I don't think Clemson at the time might have, but I think it was Miami and Florida State, and they decided to go to the ACC. I think they made a mistake. You're going to be left out if you're not involved in the SEC. It's the SEC and going to be everyone else. The craziest thing, no one really even heard about this. There was no whispers, nothing. Now, I think Oklahoma's going to be fine. The craziest thing is Texas hasn't been good in football. I mean, they haven't won a title since 2009. They're almost at Miami's level. So Texas, down the road, they might be regretting this, but they might be, every year, if they play 9 or 10 games, they might be 4-6, 4-5, 5-5 in conference play. But I think Miami, if there's any way to get in there, they need to get in there, or they're going to be left behind. And we could have, you might have 30 teams or 36 teams in a super conference. Wow. That's the way it might play out. You might have like USC join, Notre Dame eventually have to join. And if that's the case, you got to get in, or you might be playing in the Camellia Bowl and or one of these other nondescript bowls, and you're like the University of Houston, or you're La Tech, you're a nothing. So yeah, I think it's better to be average in a great conference than to be kind of king of the hill and in a second-rate conference. It's going to be SEC and everyone else, in my opinion. So sad, but that's the way it is. And then as far as the name the NIL situation, I think eventually we're going to see some situations where you're going to see some, let's say, like some automobile dealers. You're hearing about Young, the quarterback for Alabama, getting maybe $800,000 in deals. Well, let's say that a former player was to get he gets $5,000 in the use of a car for making a commercial for Sterling Cadillac. I'm just making up a name.
Congratulations on the new dealership.
Right. So what happens if, and I think you're going to see this happen, there is no way, because, for instance, my daughter's dating a gentleman who is an attorney, graduated from Miami. His name is Adam Arnott. He was graduated law school last year, and he did that big event at Pilos the other night. And I can tell you this much: guys aren't getting $20,000-$50,000 to do appearances like that down here. So if they're paying someone, let's say in an automobile dealership in Tuscaloosa or Birmingham, Alabama, $100,000 for a commercial, to film a commercial, that's illegal. I mean, the market isn't $100,000. So I think you're going to see some lawsuits. I think you're going to see some real problems pop up with that also.
On the way out here, Lee Sterling from ParamountSports.com. Russell Westbrook joining LeBron and AD in Los Angeles. Are the Lakers going to be betting favorites for next season?
Maybe, but maybe not for me. I don't know how that's going to fit in. You know, the Lakers are one of the slowest paced teams bringing the ball up the court. So, you know, Russell Westbrook likes to run the ball up and down the court. I don't see it working with those two other stars. So they got to acquire some guys who are just looking to chase rings, the right guys. You know, when you get to that age, you're injury prone. So every year, you know, they talk about the West Coast. Well, who won the title this year? Milwaukee Bucks, Eastern Conference team. So they only needed one star and a couple complimentary guys. So, you know, I think they'll be the betting favorite. Do I think they'll win it? I won't be betting on them.
Nice. Well said. We'll end it on that note. Lee Sterling, you want to make sure you follow him on Twitter at ParamountSports.com, and that's his website. Make sure you sign up, ParamountSports.com. Lee, thank you so much. Have an awesome weekend coming up, and good luck on that UFC fight night. I will be, of course, betting along with you on all of that.
Sounds good. Take care, Alex. Take care.
Really good stuff there. By the way, we get a question from Anthony Monsanto who says, Alex, do you think it makes sense geographically for both the ACC and the Big Ten to merge since Oklahoma and Texas are joining the SEC? Throw geography out the window. Like, honestly, with what the SEC is doing right now, I don't think geography even matters anymore. Like this whole thing, Atlantic coast, Southeast, Pacific, that doesn't mean crap when you've got the SEC potentially absorbing Michigan and Ohio State that are nowhere near the Southeast. And, you know, I guess you could sell Texas and Oklahoma as being Southeast, although it's more Southwest in my book. You know, they already have Texas A&M in the conference. I forget about geography. Like if they really want to, they can change the name. I mean, in a couple of years' time, or it's really 2025 is when this is going to be official, because the SEC announced it today that Oklahoma and Texas will be joining come 2025. You could just change the name from Southeastern Conference to the conference, and that's going to be the only conference anyone cares about at that point. I don't think geography means anything. Oh, and of course, we have Manny Chang popping in to do his I'm not going to even repeat. I was about to do it, but you know what? I don't want that gift to be out there. He was doing his stupid Gator chomp.
Yeah, he was. Now, could they do relegation in the SEC? Could they bring relegation into it? You know,
shut up, Sean.
Vanderbilt or whatever finishes at the bottom, they slide out and go wherever, and you bring in somebody else.
Send them down to the ACC.
Yeah,
how dare you want to remove the rich history that's Vanderbilt football? How dare you want to do that?
Hey,
oh my God,
never Derek Mason. That's it. They're dead to me.
And honestly, like Vanderbilt is a good example because Vanderbilt, they're not football relevant in the SEC. Like Vanderbilt is basically there to prop up the average GPA, right? Oh, yeah. Because you've got a lot of dummies in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and in Gainesville, Florida. Like for every 4 mouths, you have one full set of teeth in a lot of these SEC towns. So Vanderbilt is basically there just because everyone's getting 4.0s at Vanderbilt. So they're propping up the average GPA of the conference, yet still Vanderbilt gets to reap the benefits of being a member of the most relevant conference in college football, the TV revenues that come with that, the prestige sports-wise that come with that, because it's already a fine academic private institution. So if the SEC becomes even stronger, who do you think's better off then? Vanderbilt in the SEC or Miami getting left behind in the ACC? Oh, and by the way, I love this that Manny just put up on the screen. Yeah. 609, 629, and 50 is the Vandy football all-time record. Can you find for reference Miami's all-time football record? Because obviously for about the past 40 years, like going back to Schnellenberger, we're obviously way above 500, but back in before my time, like back in the 70s when they were giving away free tickets at Burger King. I don't know how many games they were winning. Like, Sean, do you remember? I know you're deceptively old. Do you remember the 70s?
I'm older than you, but not that much older. I mean, I wasn't getting the free tickets at Burger King. All right. And there
How
it is.
old are you?
636, 3071, and 19. So 629
Okay.
wins.
So that's a lot better than Vanderbilt's record. Yeah. Okay. So
and I'm pushing the 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pushing 45. Yeah, I'm pushing 37. So we'll.
I'm 10 years older because I'll be 46 in November.
still got a little catching up to do.
Maybe I was getting the tickets.
Man.
Right? I used to get the tickets at Winn-Dixie for the family zone to watch the Dolphins.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Don't have those no more.
When was the last time, if ever? Go ahead, Manny.
So, Alex, I did some research. So, if you are a freshman entering the SEC conference to play football, no matter what team, with Oklahoma and Texas entering, if you stay from your freshman year to your senior year, you would have visited every single away stadium in the conference.
Whoa, that's interesting. That's a lot of different stadiums to go to, man.
Yes. And how much time does Manny have free to be able to do that?
He's an FTC fanboy.
I do work for the University of Florida Sports Management, so yes, we do a lot of research.
Way to throw it out there. Way to throw it out there.
Real work. I'm not jumping off an apron doing the people's elbow.
First off, I don't
jump. Not with those knees.
Nothing about my physique says jumping.
I'm kidding. I can't even go up for a rebound anymore.
I'm old enough to remember when Manny was a University of Miami fan. He used to have a tattoo on his leg.
Never heard of
it covered up. Yeah. Oh man. Hey, but before we wrap it up here in a couple of minutes, we started the show talking Tua Tagovailoa and how I thought it was very important to remind people and let people know he had an excellent practice yesterday. Like Tua's training camp practice on Thursday, his best training camp practice at least, because you don't get to watch much else as a fan or a member of the media. Best training camp practice in both of his now training camps, 2 years as a Miami Dolphin. And I wanted to make sure to point that out because a lot of times the beat writers will only tell you when he's throwing interceptions, overthrowing, underthrowing. They will not let you know when Tua is having a great practice. We've got cults on both sides. We've got people who blindly worship Tua. We've got people who just think he's terrible. We never should have drafted him in the first place. When was the last time a Miami Dolphins quarterback or otherwise has been scrutinized as much as Tua Tagovailoa? Because honestly, I think you have to go back to Ricky Williams right after he did his little temporary retirement thing when he tested positive for weed, because people were so split and there was so much anger on Ricky. By the way, Manny lets me know we have NFL injury news. What do we got here? Oh, Colts quarterback Carson Wentz is out indefinitely. Yeah, I did see that he had an issue. Colts quarterback Carson Wentz is out indefinitely as he undergoes further testing, Adam Schefter tweets, on a foot injury that he suffered at the end of Thursday's practice, per Mike Wells, NFL, and me. Colts second-year quarterback Jacob Eason took the starter reps at today's practice with Sam Ehlinger as his backup. Healthy or not, Carson Wentz sucks. I'm sorry. Like healthy or not, I don't think he's the long-term answer. And I understand why Indianapolis and reuniting with Frank Reich made a lot of sense for him. It's kind of last chance saloon for Carson Wentz. But he can't get the injuries out of the way. The guy cannot stay healthy. And then when you did see a glimpse of him healthy last year, Carson Wentz, unfortunately, is not it. So honestly, for him to be suffering injury issues now and giving the Colts the opportunity to see what else they have and what they can do with Jacob Eason and Sam Ehlinger, this may be a blessing in disguise for the Indianapolis Colts, but more adversity to add to a very, very long list for former Philadelphia Eagles quarterback and now Indianapolis Colt Carson Wentz. Oh, and by the way, Tim Tebow scored a touchdown today. You guys would never guess this, given that I'm a University of Miami guy. I am a big Tim Tebow fan. I mean, the guy is bigger than the Pope. Oh, we get to watch the GIF here of Tebow catching a touchdown. I assume he's catching it and not throwing it. All right, Tebow. Okay. I think he's going to end up being the top tight end in the National Football League this year. Who threw it, Manny? Who threw the touchdown pass? Was it the blonde-headed god? Was it Trevor Lawrence who threw it?
I don't know. Maybe Chad Henne. I don't know.
Well, that would be even better. Listen, want to thank everyone who took the time to listen in and watch this episode of Donno Daily. We got a nice little weekend coming up. We're going to be back in the saddle Monday at 12 noon. We're going to have a couple of guests on Monday, but Alfredo Arteaga is going to be locked in from 5 Reasons Sports to talk some training camp. We want to talk more Miami Heat on Monday as well. Make sure to smash the like button and subscribe button here for the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Also, make sure you follow our guys. What is it? Sean _Stanley 11. Make sure you follow me at Alex Donno. Make sure you follow Manny. He's got an underscore on his Twitter handle as well. Make sure you follow everybody. Huge thanks to everyone in the chat. I see our guy Bromar Smelly is in. I see Cap for Life. I see VKW Exotics. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Joseph Rodriguez as well. And guys, make sure you check out our sponsors. We're going to have a new one coming aboard on Monday. A new old friend of ours, because we've talked about them before on the 5 Rings Canes podcast. I'm a huge fan of what they're doing. You Break Wheel Fix is going to be coming aboard next week. They do an awesome job not only fixing bent and cracked wheels, but they also trick them out like the one you're looking at. Yeah, you look there on the left side, you see the before and after photos, the amazing work that these guys do at You Break Wheel Fix. They're going to officially come aboard as one of our great advertisers on Monday. And of course, guys, keep rocking it out at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Whether you're going there to watch a UFC fight night card, a UFC pay-per-view with 0 cover charge, or you go out there late Sunday morning, early Sunday afternoon for brunch, they got the chicken and waffles. It is so freaking good. The buffalo shrimp, the sushi, the baby back ribs, the cocktails, the ice cold beer. Visit them on the web to find the location nearest to you at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. You can also peep the menu there. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. For Sean Stanley and for Manny Chang, thanks to Alan Fertel and Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports for joining us. We will talk to you guys again on Monday, 12 noon, Donno Daily, right here on 5R Live on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.